Over the course of a year, do you think they can,
It's
can
possible.
potentially make a lot of money here?
I will offer you 10,000, 15,000. So that is a big temptation.
Yeah. But isn't this proof of a system that's failing?
Even though we do have AI, we have the human part and the technology part, there's technology loopholes. Just because you have an AI system does not mean that it's going to be perfect.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Headlines, your go-to space for all the top stories that made the week's headlines and more. I'm Hazwin Hassan. Today we're taking you to the front lines of Malaysia's border security, where a recent expose has revealed troubling checks in our immigration system. A scheme so simple yet dangerous. And what's worse is that it's not just about a few rogue officers. It's about a system that's overloaded, undermanned, and exploited from within. In case you missed it, in early July, 4 immigration officers stationed at Johor's CIQ Bangunan Sultan Iskandar, or BSI, Malaysia's busiest land border checkpoint with Singapore, were arrested by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. These officers were found to be stamping foreign passports without the actual passport holders being present in exchange for bribes. The syndicate offered what amounted to a fast pass into Malaysia for foreigners, especially those who risk overstaying, working illegally, or re-entering without valid permits. It was later revealed that this was not a one-off, but a systematic abuse of loopholes within our entry processing system. The term flying passport refers to the way these documents were passed between third parties or runners and not the travellers themselves to get stamped by corrupt officers. So what does this mean for our borders, our security and public trust? Here in the studio with me to help break it all down is Associate Professor Dr. Geshina Saat from the Malaysia Crime Prevention Foundation, or MCPF for short. Professor, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you. Great to have you back. Always a pleasure to have you on the set with us. So I'll just start with the most obvious question here. Mm-hmm. Just how serious is this syndicate, the Flying Passport Syndicate, from a crime prevention point of view and the modus operandi that goes behind it all?
Okay. Even one case is serious and worrisome. This is because of the uncertainty. What this individual, having this entry document, will do once inside the country. We don't know. Trust in fellow humans is one thing, but there are limits. There is no guarantee that this individual staying and roaming in Malaysia will not violate our laws or cause mischief. On top of that, in many cases, such individuals do not know our laws and our melting pot of cultures. So some come into the country and bring their own laws, their own way of living that can actually be problematic in the short and long terms. When we talk about modus operandi, this is pertinent because modus operandi refers to a pattern of actions, a pattern of behaviors. Right. So it's not a one-off incident. It's not an isolated case. There is definitely modus operandi behind these flying passport schemes. When we talk about the flying passport, MO, it is a serious concern for crime prevention and immigration, for security in Malaysia and in many developed and developing countries. So it's not only Malaysia that has this problem of flying passport. So what actually it involves, this scheme, it involves the illegal use of passports. It can either be stolen, it can be forged, or it can be borrowed. Someone could have done something bad to it. They have been manipulated. They have been, something's been done about it, on the passports itself to facilitate cross-border movements. So this is often linked to human trafficking. We have it also in cases of illegal migration or transnational crime. So the official document is somehow manipulated by crime syndicates for nefarious purposes. Passports are stamped without the holder being physically present. So we don't know what's going on actually. How did they get it? Who are the people involved? Why it is a serious issue in Malaysia, we can trace it through past research into 4 categories. Number 1 is border security threats. Number 2, links to organized crime and human trafficking. Number 3, terrorism and transnational crime risk. And number 4, economic and social impact. Now, when we talk about border security threats, Malaysia's strategic location in Southeast Asia makes it a transit hub We know this over the years for illegal migrants, including victims of human trafficking and foreign workers entering without proper documentation. So this is because there is a need for cheap foreign labor. So when they come into Malaysia, a lot of companies that are involved in, for example, in infrastructure, for example, in buildings, sometimes it's in the factories themselves, they're not willing to pay the minimum wage that Malaysians ought to get when they work in those situations. So they will get foreign laborers and they will contract it, taking foreign agencies in the main country. For example, it could be our own area, Indonesia maybe, or maybe Thailand. So there are agents there who try to get their own people to come over to Malaysia under so-called advertisements offering good positions in the country.
Right.
So there are many loopholes there. So that is a serious concern when we talk about border security threats. What happens is that criminals or syndicates exploit weak passport checks, especially at land border areas and airports. And this is a serious concern because we have genuine people who come into the country to visit, maybe relatives for a holiday, or maybe it's because of medical tourism, and they unfortunately are scrutinized when we have cases where people who come into the country through illegal means.
Right.
Yeah. So second aspect is links to organized crime and human trafficking. Flying passports are commonly used by human trafficking syndicates. Not all the time, but a huge bulk of it are by human trafficking syndicates to move victims across borders. And some cases also involve corrupt immigration officers who facilitate the entry of individuals using fake or altered passports. Sometimes it's used, some countries are used as transit points. Sometimes they use it as a flooding technique, whereby they will get a huge number of people, for example, tourists who go on a tourist bus. So there's 40 people there, 35 people there, maybe one of them. So when there's a huge volume of people coming in, the system is flooded and they just quickly go through the checkpoints. So that is a danger when it look into the aspect of linkage to organized crime and human trafficking. On the aspect of terrorism and transnational crime risk, this enables problematic individuals to remain in Malaysia.
Okay.
That's what we don't want.
Right.
So probably there are criminals in their own countries. They try to escape from the bad things that they've done in their own country. They come to Malaysia, they hide.
Okay.
And when they hide, we don't know what's going on.
That's right.
Because then they create a hub of their own, a new gangster, or a new society of bad apples. So this poses a huge danger to Malaysians because there is a duty of care to ensure that our own people are safe from these syndicates, are safe from being victimized. But unfortunately, by corrupt individuals who allow these individuals to come in, now we have a huge possibility of these individuals, these bad apples, coming into the country, staying here and causing mischief. So terrorists and criminals may use fraudulent passports to evade detection. And history has shown over the years that this has happened, not only in Malaysia, of course, but also in Indonesia. It has also happened in Thailand, many areas, frankly, that we see criminals who escape prosecution from their own country and come and hide in Malaysia. We also have Malaysians who escape Malaysia and seek some sort of trying to hide in other countries. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Prof, I'd just like to ask you about. You mentioned how this opened doors to unwanted people, right, from abroad. You talked about flooding, how some of them will be put in buses with tourists, so that it will appear like, oh, you've got these masses of tourists coming in. Just how easy is that to pull off? And two. With all of this, right, with all of this happening, and we're not just pointing to one particular agency here when it comes to border security, but isn't this proof of a system that's failing and a deeper and sort of indicating a deeper collusion of networks between the syndicates and enforcement personnel, and that it's easy to have for these syndicates to have access to our enforcement officers?
It's actually two concerns when we talk about flooding. Sometimes the people on the bus, on the tours, for example, you got 10 people, 15 people. Some of them are family members. And due to that, there is a likelihood of the criminal who comes in, the illegal person who comes in, fakes the documentation as if he or she belongs to that group of individuals. So they have similar backgrounds, for example, similar surnames, for example, and they see themselves to be as part of them.
Right.
In this instance, most of the time, other people in the group are aware. But there's a second condition, yeah? So no one in the group is aware.
Okay.
So whereby syndicates carefully look into who are going abroad. There would be some form of collusion there. What groups will go, how many people will go, and somehow insert this individual. And
Right.
when a group of strangers go together, let's say, for example, like a tour bus, or maybe it's a paid holiday for, I don't know, a group of individuals. They take a tour to go to certain countries, so-called holiday. Then probably one of the agents will say, we have 1 or 2 empty spots, and we want to fill that. We're informing you that we're including this person. So being strangers, they'll just accept whatever it is, because they're supposed to go there on holiday. They do not anticipate anything going wrong. So it's one of 2 ways it's possible to happen. Collusion, there's a possibility. Certainty, I'm sorry, I can't say. I don't know whether there's certainty about that. Yeah.
But it does seem that it's from how it has been going on and how far-reaching it is. Does seem that some, these syndicates can get access, and the way that they can get access to these immigration officers is pretty alarming at this rate.
Yes, you're right. It is pretty alarming. The technical part of that, how they collude with one another, that is very much subjective.
Okay.
Because each case would differ. We don't have that information, and even if I do have the information, I can actually share it.
Sure.
Because security concerns that we're looking into, I don't want to give ideas to people out there how to go about in doing it. But with regards to economic and social impact, it may seem that we're opening doors to allow people to have businesses, to spend money in Malaysia, but we have to think further from that. It's not only the person probably who does the stamping or doing the flying passport, wow, I get some money. There's long-term consequences behind that action. Okay, illegal migrants using fake passports lead to overstaying. When it leads to overstaying, sometimes it's generational. So they have families here. Then they go into our school system for some of them don't. Okay, they go into our school system, they go into our workforce. So it takes away the spots for our own people.
True.
And that poses also tension.
Yeah.
Because some people may think that they deserve to get that job. Employers are not willing to pay the minimum wage to give SOCSO, EPF, insurance. They do shortcuts. Accident happens. Who's going to bear the cost? So in such cases, the immigrant, whether they're smuggled into the country or they are trafficked, not only is this person a victim of those circumstances, if something happens here in Malaysia, he or she has to recover himself. Who's going to pay the bills?
That's right.
So it's very dangerous. Yeah.
It can create a very polarizing sort of narrative here, because things like this happen and then it seems like, it's a systematic failure. So we're now giving away our jobs to people who are supposed to get jobs, foreigners, right? And talking about jobs, I did allude earlier in my introduction to a system that's overwhelmed, right? Undermanned. So in our report, we were informed by a source from the Immigration Department saying that, and I quote here, when 5 officers are clearing 500 passports an hour, and this one, Johor's CIQ, right? When scanners are down and cameras cannot cover every lane, something has to give, and that is when syndicates move in. Now, I'd like you to first off comment on this workload here. 500 passports in an hour. Can you sort of break down, like, how fast it must take to clear one passport? And is that even feasible in in the sense of making sure security here is upheld?
Okay, from a crime prevention point of view, any checkpoint environment, it can be land, it can be the sea, for example, where 5 officers, it could be more, it could be less, actually process 500 passports per hour. Now, we're talking about 1 passport every 36 seconds.
That's right.
So whether that is feasible, whether there's any truth into that claim, it's just not sustainable. It's dangerously porous if it is true. because it means actually behind that, it means there's a pressure cooker setup. Yeah?
Right.
So this pressure cooker setup creates the perfect area, perfect storm, perfect opportunity for systemic failure, insider exploitation, as well as syndicate infiltration. It creates a high-risk environment right for exploitation, traffickers, criminals, corrupt insiders. Having this situation is extremely dangerous from a crime prevention standpoint because of chain reaction. So from systematic vulnerabilities that are exploited by criminal syndicates or individuals, it will then move on to chaos within the organization,
Right.
within the country. And this chaos is then further exploited by syndicates, which leads to consequences for national security.
Right.
So the long-term consequences, it's not just the immediate ones that are concerning, because it enables people to view the system as something very untrustworthy.
Okay.
So from there, it will snowball into bigger and bigger problems. Yeah. So with regards to a question whether this is individual integrity or systematic of a system that is buckling under operational pressure, in countries that have this flying passport issue, okay, bear in mind Malaysia is not the only country who have this issue. A lot of research in Malaysia as well as overseas and reports indicate that this is not just a failure of individual integrity, as well as manifestation of pro-traits, for example, the social context, but also the symptom of deeper systematic weakness. So it's not either or, it's a combination. So it includes operational pressure, weak oversight, and institutional vulnerabilities. So what this actually means is that the broader context reveals structural vulnerabilities that enables and actually provides incentives for pro-criminal people to do more misconduct.
Yep.
So the key factors underlying this flying passport issue can actually be grouped into two. We're looking into psychosocial factors as well as the systematic and structural failures. So with regards to psychological factors, we're looking into rogue officers who facilitate the crime. There's a culture of impunity. Perhaps it's not only one or two, it is from higher up to down. So sometimes the officers at the counter, they only get a little bit, maybe I'm not sure. But the people behind the closed doors, perhaps they get more. So it's a whole system. We have also external pressures fueling a problem. For example, as I mentioned before, high demand for cheap foreign labor, sophisticated syndicates who exploit Malaysia's visa-free entry policies. Yeah. For example, what we currently have with China, with India, what's going on in America, for example, with the tariff situation. There's conflict and unrest in neighboring countries. So more and more people are coming into Malaysia because Malaysia is seen as an ideal country to stay and work.
I want to go back to your point on the culture of impunity, or rather the culture of letting this happen. That there is that culture of corruption, and that it goes overlooked, perhaps because it involves people even at the very top, right? Again, I think that mixed with, say, the overwhelming situation there with the workload there, it creates a recipe for this to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But now this is the big but here. We have introduced more sort of digitized measures, right? Digital measures to become the fallback on that. So that's supposed to serve as a buffer here. If the human interventions don't quite work or don't quite catch the bad guys, the QR codes, the AI operated scanners and all that should work, should kick in. So is this also an indication of the failure of the digital structure here, or digital mechanisms in place?
Now, in a way, you're correct, but it looks into both sides. So it has to be a balance between the two. For example, when we talk about culture of impunity, not only it happens in Malaysia, not only in certain authority figures, authority agencies, many agencies, there's always light punishment. We don't hear of stories whereby people with misconducts who are immediately terminated. Most of the time, when there is misconduct, they are transferred to a different place, transferred out.
Right.
Now, some countries, they have no tolerance about this. If there's any evidence of misconduct that is so grievous that poses harm to the country, to the sovereignty of a country, they will immediately terminate this person, put in jail, will not allow him to work in any capacity in the government, for example.
Right.
So totally break off his potential to commit crimes, corruption in other parts of the country, in other parts of the government, for example. Yeah. So culture of impunity is one of the issues because it looks foremost at the individual's behavior, individual's intention. So when this person goes into an organization, there are like-minded people there.
Okay.
So that will then become a big opportunity because everyone will take pieces of the pie.
That's true, yeah. And actually, to second this point, MCBA, or Malaysian Border Control and Protection Agency, newly appointed director, Datuk Sri Muhammad Shuaili Zain, he talked about this and how it's part of protocol to transfer officers over to other posts, be reassigned, because you just can't simply remove them, completely out of the system. But now, for people who may, point to, transfers are not enough, or people who might be even accusing the MCBA of a cover-up because it's just transfers, you're transferring them from A to B. What's your comment? Like, should we just go straight ahead with if they're corrupt, they're found to be corrupt, why keep them in the system? Okay,
we need to look into how they were recruited into the organization in the first place.
Okay.
So were there any screening to look into potential, possible pro-criminal traits of that nature? That are people who are pro to corruption, who, bad seeds, because bad seeds will grow into bad apples. So also, is the culture in place already permissive of corruption to occur? Right. So there's two instances there. So a person who comes into the organization may not have those pro-criminal traits. Recruitment is done properly, but when he or she goes into that workplace and finds that, hey, corruption can happen. So why not I take a piece of the pie? That's so right. Instead of trying to stay away, then he or she goes into that system because there'll be backup.
Right.
Because it's not one person who does it. So if there's 5 or 6 people, so each of them can become backup of the other person.
Okay.
So they kind of safeguard their own interests. Right. But unfortunately, the whole system then is being distrusted. People see them and mistrust what's going on. It's not enough. Basically, it's not enough.
Yep.
Yeah. So my own personal viewpoint is that we have to go beyond transferring. If we can make laws that address bullying in schools, people who are found to be bullying, we straight away reject them from that school. Okay. Why can't we do the same for these agencies?
Yep.
Because the repercussions of transfer, he or she does not necessarily mean that once transfer, the lesson is learned. It could be, wow, this is a new opportunity for me.
That's right.
So put a stop straight away to those sort of things from happening in the first place.
So it's interesting, Professor, that you actually pointed out that you are for removing them completely out of the system rather than just transferring them, within the organization. It doesn't quite, solve the problem of the bad culture here. But that doesn't quite solve the first problem that we had, which is the undermanned system that's being overwhelmed because there's just not enough people working at these checkpoints. So how can we reconcile that so that, okay, if we're going to remove the bad officers out of the system completely, but make sure that they are replaced as soon as possible, and on top of that, make sure there's enough people.
Yeah, that is definitely a concern because given opportunities, how many people, logically talking, reasonably talking about it, would like to work as an immigration officer? Okay, given their skills, their knowledge base, they have degrees, maybe extremely good degrees, why then should they work as an immigration officer when there are other opportunities? So what would actually motivate them to be an immigration officer?
Right.
So that is one thing that really needs to be addressed by people who are going to recruit individuals, Malaysians, to be part of the immigration force, police force, maybe with regards to the fire brigade, maybe with the whatever agencies that you have actually.
That's right.
Even teachers. So why would they work in that position, having the background that they do, when they could work in other occupations that give them better, not only salary, but better benefits, better health benefits?
Now, Prof, clearly there's a monetary incentive here because, they're probably getting paid quite a fair bit by the syndicates. And earlier you were telling me just how much they can earn off of an assignment or a period in which they would allow these ghost travelers, as they say, right, to come in. Could you just sort of revisit that point and how this festers the crime? Because again, the money is a little bit too good to resist.
When we talk about people who just join any organization, so probably a basic salary with the incentives in Malaysia, probably they get around 3,500. So it's over time that you'll get more and more. But maybe when they go and become the head of the department, and then probably they will go up to 10,000, 15,000, maybe. But that is very long. Okay, so when syndicates offer individuals working in these authority agencies for a time period, so I have a certain group coming in between 1 January and 10 January. I will offer you 10,000, 15,000. So that is a big temptation. Because if this individual's salary is only 3,000, 4,000, and for half the time period of getting that 3,000, 4,000 salary, he or she can get 3 or 4 times. So
5 figures for a month.
For half a month of work.
Or even less. Okay,
it can be for 3 days.
Wow.
It can be for maybe 2 hours. When the plane is coming down, the plane is coming here, this is the number plate, we're going to have 50 people coming in, so make sure everything goes smoothly, and here I'll give you a certain amount of money. And most transactions are conducted cash, because if you put it in the bank, there's paper trail.
That's right. So over the course of a year, do you think they can,
it's
can
possible.
Potentially make a lot of money here?
Yeah, and for half or less time from their real jobs. So that is something that actually pulls people, especially in situation now whereby everything is pricey.
Right. Okay.
And sometimes families have many children, mouths to feed. Perhaps their parents are staying with them, or they have other family members staying in. Sometimes it could be because of greed. Yeah, so you get people who want to live a lifestyle beyond their salaries. So something fishy is going on.
So definitely, things like that when they pop up, it's
already a red flag.
Yeah.
So this is another thing that security organizations, agencies can look into.
And they have to keep tabs. Definitely.
Yeah, they have to keep tabs. What are the people buying? They should not be able to afford it.
That's right.
Okay, it's not possible that all these officers have a relative who died and give them a big amount of money.
Do you think that adding to this, it would be better to invest in more incentives, say for whistleblowing or to report if you know of anything?
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than, going the other way around where, clearly what's happening here is the monetary motive here.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the money involved. You get paid around what? To get the passport stamped, it will go up to maybe 1,800, 2,000. It used to be less, but it's more expensive now, right?
Because the value of major passport
is
coming
high.
into
We
the country.
do have a great coverage in terms of our countries that we can visit, right? So my question is, so instead of just focusing on the retribution that after the crime has happened, why not give
reactive.
more? Exactly. Why not give more incentives from to officers within the agency to call out the crime in the first place?
I totally agree, because when we talk about crime prevention, there's 3 levels. It's proactive, reactive, and situational. Right. So in many countries around the world, the focus is reactive. Something bad happened, someone suffered, someone dies, then action is going to be taken. You're right, we should, in the Malay language, sediakan payung sebelum hujan, prepare the umbrella before it rains. So prepare for eventualities. So provide people with incentives not to do crime. Right. So in studies of criminology, we don't only focus on reasons why people do crime, but we also look into reasons of why people do not do crime.
Right.
So that is a big chunk of research, a big area that not many people are focusing on. They focus on what is already known, why people commit crime. But when you look into that perspective, not everyone commits crime. So you're looking at a very small fraction of society as a whole.
Yep.
So if you focus on what are the reasons the rest of society provides, uses to stop themselves from becoming corrupt, from not having integrity, for example, beyond monetary values, beyond monetary needs. The Whistleblower Act, for example, is a very good example. Many people are still unaware about what you can get, what the benefits. Because say, for example, you're offered a bribe of 1 million ringgit. There are two conditions. One, you take that money, but you give that money then to the police or authorities because you want to use that money as evidence that it happened. Or you don't take the money, but you still inform. That case is reported, it goes to court, it is solved, there is evidence. So you were offered 1 million, you will actually get that 1 million. It's 1-to-1.
Yeah. Which is great.
Which is great, yeah. So if you were offered 20,000, it goes to court. Of course, you have to go up and down to court, definitely. The case has been proven to be beyond reasonable doubt. That was the case of bribery. So you get back that money.
Going back to your earlier point, you wanted to explain how we use AI and perhaps why it's probably still not enough. Do you want to go back to that point?
Okay, here it is.
Okay.
Actually, even though we do have AI, we have the human part and the technology part, there's technology loopholes. Just because you have an AI system does not mean that it's going to be perfect. AI learns, for example, deepfake, for example, ChatGPT and all these things. The algorithm is a learning algorithm, so it takes time to learn. But saying that, there's always things that it cannot take into consideration. For example, if the person is a twin, is a triplet.
Right, okay.
There is more than 50% similarity between individuals' faces. So the technology marks them as the same or similar to be the same person.
Yeah.
Because, for example, flying passports, the person is not there in front of the officer. So they just scan the photo.
Right.
So there's a little bit changes. Probably they say, okay, this person has aged. So the photo was taken, even though it's recent, it was probably like an injury. So they put a plaster somewhere, they draw a mole somewhere. And it's like, this is minor issues. So there's loopholes in technology.
Right.
So totally depending on AI is not good. Totally depending on manual system is also not good. You need to combine the two. So there are checks and balances in place in other countries, for example, Australia, Singapore. So they increase their tech capability, they increase their manual system as well. So it reduces the possibility of flying passports, people coming into the country illegally. AI alone are also vulnerable. So solutions needed is there are quite a number. For example, is strict override logging. So for every manual entry must be recorded, time span linked to officer's ID. Who did it?
Right, okay.
Right now we don't have that. So they just stamp, we don't know who did it. Okay. AI red flags, for example. So the system itself should be able to flag unusual override patterns. Say, for example, the same officer approving multiple overrides. Certain time, let's say in 1 hour. So for 1 hour session, this individual, the officer overrides so many in a very short time. So that's a red flag.
Yep.
It should not be allowed to continue. Yeah? And then there are, for example, if we want to compare between Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and Australia. So my team, we did a study on this, a very small study about it. So we found that, for example, Singapore has strict tech and zero tolerance enforcement. So there are no manual overrides without dual approval. There are blockchain-style audit trails, cross-checks with CCTV and Interpol, for example, harsh penalties for abuse. So corrupt officers face long time in prison, lifetime blacklisting from government jobs, for example. So that's already a warning to them, okay, don't do it.
Right. Would this involve having a dual officer clearance system as well?
Yes, yeah. It would definitely involve that.
Because, I mean, the way it works is that it takes advantage of blind spots. There are blind spots from
CCTV
cameras.
Yeah.
And then sometimes
The
when the rotation, queues is one, and rotation of the officers when they come in for a different shift, right?
Yeah.
This will address it.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can't use one system, one way to solve all the problems.
Right.
Because when we talk about flying passports, it's a multiple angle problem. So there is no one solution fits all. That's not likely going to happen.
Okay.
But so that means there needs to be investment from the government, from any government for that matter. So we don't want to be a case of reactive. Something bad happened, and then we're going to do something. Proactive crime prevention is always better, always cheaper than reactive.
Right. And perhaps on the same note, before we wrap up here, you talked about perhaps more punitive punishments, more punitive measures after someone has been caught, doing the crime. But beyond that, and I'm sure you're a great proponent of this from just what from what you just said, what has to be done here in terms of reforms and to ensure or to restore discipline in these agencies that are supposed to protect our borders here? What else can be done to better our standards here?
When we look into this issue, it needs to go beyond arrest. Yeah, so we need a strong blueprint that can be actually carried out for restoring discipline, for restoring integrity and public trust in enforcement, especially at border control, border security. Punitive actions, for example, arrest and suspensions, alone cannot root out the systematic corruption that we face or even rebuild trust because the harm has already been done. And that, unfortunately, lingers in people's minds, it lingers in people's thoughts. So we need structural reform, cultural shifts, and institutional safeguards. So it's a multi-pronged blueprint that needs immediate action and collaboration, cooperation from multiple levels of society. It's not only the government. Because we do get, unfortunately, individuals who would take advantage of it and make it a flourishing area where corruption can happen and continue to happen. So it's not only from the government side. So when we talk about structural reform, it has to be tech-driven transparency. So this means, for example, AI-powered audits. So we can actually deploy machine learning to flag suspicious patterns. For example, officer approval. For example, what are the systematic errors that keep on occurring? For example, code 404. So if it happens more than 10 times, there must be something else.
Right.
So these codes will link up and give you ideas. What are the patterns that keep on occurring? And then we can circumvent those situations. We can do blockchain logged manual as well as real-time Interpol cross-checks. But because of the system currently with the internet capabilities, unfortunately there are things, for example, internet hang. There's lags.
Right.
So it's actually a situation where we have to weigh and balance things because tourists want to quickly come to the country. They're already fatigued from the journey.
Yep.
They want to go to the hotel. They want to get relaxed. But then they're stopped at immigration.
Right.
It's not because of them, but because someone who's suspicious. So this, unfortunately, makes it very hard. So if we have more officers on duty who have good integrity values, that will be very helpful. But automated gates will be good. Singapore has been using that. Australia has it to an extent. But again, we cannot solely depend on those automatic gates 100% because they also have problems.
Yep.
In fact, quite a lot of problems.
Right.
The people who actually benefit from it are the people who actually supply those machineries. Yeah. We can do process overhauls, meaning eliminate discriminatory powers. So if the directive comes from the top, all places where there's checkpoints must follow. It cannot be whereby in the south, okay lah, I don't want this part of the strategy. I'm only going to take 50%. Then another checkpoint says, we must be very strict. You must follow 100%.
Right.
You can probably have another checkpoint. Oh, we must do beyond this. We have to do 110%.
Yeah.
So we should not have such discretionary powers, as well as we need to decentralize corruption risks. So we need to balance between the two, because if there's suspicious people or person coming around, sometimes it takes a very long time because you have to check and counter check because it goes to HQ. Because the database is in HQ. So it's not, unless there's been warning, is this person, this ID has been highlighted from top up, people at the counters, they don't get the information.
Right.
So if that information on the corruption risk, every checkpoint.
Okay.
So instead of having to wait.
Would this, though, be a sort of a turning off for tourists to come in, knowing that, they have to queue for hours just to get in?
I think Malaysia has a more important role to ensure security and safety for its own people of over 30 million.
Right. So security and safety does
For our own people
have to
first,
come
I think.
first.
Yeah. Tourists, they do bring in money. It's good for the country. We are getting more and more tourists coming into the country, more so than Thailand, for example. It's good when we talk about the economics, but that should not be the driving force to ensure that we are a developed country. We are based on our people as helpful, as very nice, very hospitable countries, very engaging with foreigners.
Yeah.
But if our own people feel that we are being manipulated, our rights being taken away, it's going to slowly turn.
Yeah. And I suppose from what you said earlier, the systems have to complement each other. It won't be perfect.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
we get enough to get it working.
Yeah, and you will see a gradual reduction.
Right.
So you won't get, for example, we have the auto gaze, AI technology. Immediately, we're going to see a reduction.
Right.
Because there are things that we cannot control. For example, if there are refugees coming in, if there's war, conflict going on. So there would be emergency situations whereby we have to also deliberate on the need to reduce stringent measures, for example.
Okay. All right. Well, wonderful, interesting insights there, Professor Geshina. Thank you so much for your time
You're welcome.
on Beyond the Headlines today. Right. Well, unfortunately, folks, that's all the time we have on this episode of Beyond the Headlines. If you enjoyed watching this episode, please do hit that like button that you see on your YouTube page, the NST online page that you're watching this episode on right now. Also, don't forget to follow us on all the socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and even on TikTok and Threads, right? For all the latest updates, not just for the show, but for all the stories and news that we put out there daily for you. Once again, thanks so much for watching and for your loyalty to us all this while in this series. I'm Haswin Hassan, and until the next one, goodbye.